say. You can't have the ultimate 4x4 without waking it up, right? It's part 2 of my Ultimate 4x4 video series. I'm in Rockingham, North Carolina, and behind me, that's EHS Racing. I'm gonna go in and talk to Eric Sutton, the owner, probably the most knowledgeable person on the planet when it comes to building up these Grizzlies to make them run. So we're gonna wake mine up, and we're gonna get 20% increase for under $1,200.
The Grizzly, if you take it and you run a wide open throttle, is not tuned bad. You know, like if you drove it like you stole it, it's actually tuned relatively well. Like I just talked to a farmer this morning. He's like, I just wanted to run how it should. You know, I needed to get hay and do pine straw and do whatever. You know, so I get some tuner.
And that's the most important thing we can get out of this video. If you're riding it like a normal person, you are going to tax your motor over time because if you're running it too lean at too high of a temperature at idle and just farting around. I thought my shocks were going to be the #1 thing I put on this machine, but really when you think about it, if you care for the longevity of your machine, that you're a programmer is I would say it's the most important thing you put on the machine.
I think so. I think it's #1, and then you want to keep dirt out of the motor as second.
Yeah,
you know?
sure. Air
so
filter.
if you want to not, hurt your investment, do the maintenance thing. If you do the few things and treat it right, change your oil, you can get 10, 15 years out of a Grizzly still. I don't. My other shop customers that are other brands, they don't. I'm working on stuff that's 2020s right now, and that's 2020. So, I generally don't have that coming through for Grizzlies. They definitely last. I am a Yamaha guy. My garage has a R-Max, my garage has a Kodiak, and my garage has another Kodiak. That's what's in my home.
You're a smart shopper.
So hopefully Yamaha hears that and they give me a free machine.
Right.
Sounds good. I keep paying for them.
Yeah. Don't hold your breath. They've sold everyone they can make. It seems like they don't need us.
Yeah.
You've made a folder for me, the 700 John Pellin. This is the folder directory even. So we're not playing. We've got it all dialed in.
When I'm doing the park testing, I'll do 4 or 5 full throttle passes and get an average. And then I do 4 or 5 with the new parts and get an average.
Yeah.
And then I'll show you the average.
Nice.
Because it's that hard to keep track of.
Okay, so what's next? We're going to put the programmer on?
Probably programmer and airbox.
Okay.
Same time. Block the AIS, and then we'll do exhaust after that.
Awesome.
Break it in. Those are the two. Most people that buy the air filter are getting the tuner. Or most people buying the tuner are getting the air filter. The exhaust is the next round. Like, hey, I'm happy. I want to go fast now.
Right.
Faster.
Yep.
That fixed the issues. And then this brings on the fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the 2 stages that the average consumer is going to be purchasing.
Right on.
Every little change on a CVT transmission really affects horsepower. It's really tricky to get consistent runs, so we got to take all the variables out of there that we can. We got smooth tires, so we don't have knobbies on there. That way, we're making traction and we're not actually spinning the drum a quarter of a turn less, because that's important when we're measuring horsepower and real changes. We got a stock bike up there right now. We're just going to get a baseline.
Okay.
We got to get some heat in the engine. Some of the best drums are always when a motor's really cold. They tend to show a little high on horsepower, so we'll spend some time getting the heat in it right now.
I got you. That's smart. So
we got to stabilize the whole environment, because 1 horsepower is hard to reflect, and I can get up there and hit the throttle a different way and show a 1 or 2 horsepower.
Okay.
gain, so.
We're going to be accurate. I like it.
I guess there's the AIS system in itself is kind of like an EGR system in a truck. Okay, you're going to bleed off air from the airbox, and it's going to pump it into the exhaust stream. Okay, so this is going to have kind of like a radiator hose. It's actually an air line. It comes up here. There's a little bracket that holds it to this bottom of the frame, and it circles up here to a sensor. If you can see it, that sensor is kind of like a little mini stepper motor. It pulses, and it lets air bleed off from inside in here in the air box. And this compartment is drawing air out, and it's pushing it down into the exhaust port
which is why it's called the air intake system.
Yes, its
'Cause
function
we're
is
pushing air into the exhaust to get rid of the exhaust
it works
fumes?
by vacuum
Okay.
more so than pushing. So that when the pulse of the exhaust goes out of the bike,
Okay.
it draws in the fresh air with it, and it's only at a certain RPM. You know, below I think 4,000 from what I've tested and remember. You know, those low RPMs is where it pumps all that air in. And then its goal is there's a catalytic converter built into the front of the stock exhaust, so it raises the temperature of the exhaust stream, which then makes it run hotter yet back there, which then is for emissions. It burns off more of the unburnt fuel coming out of your motor. It also,
And that's where you get your backfires.
yeah,
'Cause
it acts like a large exhauster. Its function is an exhauster. You know, theoretically, it's bleeding air into the exhaust stream, which when you have a leaky exhaust donut or gasket, you're sucking air in, and that fresh air creates a lean condition, and then it pops on diesel. But in most of your packages, there's a orange gizmo that happens to work really good
Really?
to block
I
that
love
off.
it.
You know, I don't want a lawsuit for a $2 vacuum cap
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
make $2 on. So it's there, it's packing material.
Like
If you
it.
wanted to go back into the shop and have a look stock, you know, you unplug the tuner right here. You know, this is a stock connector. You plug ours in,
Yep.
on, off,
Yep.
tuner's off of there.
Right.
Okay, the air box, it's a little more involved, but I've never had a Yamaha guy say, hey, you made your air filter better.
Yeah.
We're not covering the warranty.
You made your air filter better, right?
Okay,
Exactly.
you know, the AIS, it's as simple, you just pull this hose off, stick it right back over top of it.
Oh, I see what
So
you
then
mean.
you're blocking the hole.
I got you. Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so then
right.
it looks factory. You know, nobody knows it's there. You've blocked it.
Okay.
It's simple. You know, it's almost free. You know, free is good. I don't want to take all you guys' money.
Yeah.
I want you to do some of it.
Yep, right. Clever. Now, where's this little orange gizmo? Explain it again. It's in the packaging material?
If you buy a
No.
tuner, generally it will come if we don't forget and put it in there with a tuner. You know,
Okay.
it's free. It's nothing I charge for. So if not,
But if you're not ordering
You
one
can go
part
to-
from you, you're still going to find
you can
those
go to
little
Napa
gizmos and
or
see 'em.
O'Reilly's and get a $2 vacuum cap and slide
Right.
it over there. It can be redneck. I mean, you can fill it full of silicone and a little piece of aluminum or a pen cap. It don't have to be fancy. Okay, so now
Okay.
we're going to
Let's
we're going
do
to
it.
put our tuner on here, and we're going to modify this air filter. So, you know, in 19 they made this slightly better. Slightly, I will say. Okay, so now they got a ring that this actually slides into. So if it's gonna leak, air has this. What you see on Yamaha is this starts to roll back up with time.
Okay.
So when that starts to roll back up and come out of there, you're gonna have a little spot that's gonna leak. You know, and with air, it's kind of like water. Water finds a way to leak, it's gonna go out the hole. Air, if it's more restrictive here than it is right there, that's where it's gonna draw most of its air from. So it's gonna be sucking right through that little hole, and then it'll go up in that screen, and it has to roll back. Now, being that they made this there, it is tighter,
a little better
but
than it
air
was.
and dirt will get through that. You know, your seal is this. This squishes up against the front of this box right here.
Yep.
You know, and you got, you know, that's Yamaha's service. You know, they take your filter and dunk it in there. Every single bike I've ever seen has had a pool of oil in there. Too much. You know, you need a light coat of oil, light coat of grease, or he's upgraded my kit. So what we're gonna do, we machine a piece of aluminum and physically adhere it to this box. The intake tube then comes up into this piece of aluminum, and you get a clamp-on style air filter. There is no way for dirt to get past that sucker. Essentially, they're going to take your stock box. Okay, we're going to pop this compartment out of it. This is a glue seam. And you take a screwdriver and put it in there and crack it loose. And you're going to take that and make it look like this.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to have an aluminum adapter that's going to bolt into place here. And then you're going to have your stock tube, which you then need to cut to fit the back side of that adapter.
You don't have. You could do this with a razor blade or a pair of dikes or something.
Yep.
But you just want to cut right where the flare starts.
Okay.
So. Now since you got to slide this in, and that's a pretty tight fit in there. Usually just 45 the
Oh.
rigid. All right, so after you get the billet adapter in, tube's cut. It's a little tricky. Stick your finger up in there. You can kind of help guide it on. But it's a really tight fit.
Which is good.
Right. So then we'll tighten that back up before we put it on. When you order the kit, it comes with 2 foam blocks. And they
Oh,
go,
that's a good idea.
they go in place of that.
That's great. Okay.
Alright, so then
baby, you ain't worry my life anymore.
want to take clean your corners up.
Okay.
Drew, you want to put this box together? Alright, so there's the box that we just cut. Plates bent. Outerwear filter. Rubber gasket that we make.
Very well thought out air intake system. I like what you've done. Nothing hokey about it. It's great.
And we do sell complete packages where you could buy a complete lower and a complete lid ready to go,
Okay.
or any part in between.
How cool is this? Pretty pumped how well this thing's gonna run. What's going on, Eric? What are we doing? Air intake? Oh, you've got the program around there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So unbolt or unplug the fuel injection connection. It's just a Y harness, piggyback harness with a ground lead. Everything else is done. I already got a duals map loaded in there. Oh, the new air filter is installed. We got the air box lid that will go. The air filter is being oiled. It is installed. That will go on there, and then everything just buttons back up like stop. And then we're gonna run it. We won't put the plastic back on for now because we're gonna be right back in here doing an exhaust.
Right.
But we'll give you a new baseline or a second level of horsepower, and
Okay.
you'll see the difference of the majority parts. You know, these are Yamaha's problems are fixed, in my opinion now.
Right. Right.
The mapping that we're doing inside, or the fuel parameter settings that we're modifying, I don't give you free range. Like, you have enough to do what you need. You know, I haven't opened up Pandora's box. You know, fuel injection is one of them things that scares everybody. I get so many phone calls and they're like, oh my god, if I hit a button, my four-wheeler is going to be an inferno of fire.
Right.
It's damaged. You know, it's not like that. You know, I give you a set amount of controls, so no matter what you buy from me, you're covered by hitting buttons on that. So it's a limited range.
Okay.
You can't do too much, and you can never make it run leaner than factory with this particular tune.
Oh, cool.
You know, all it is adding fuel in the right areas. You know, it's not a blanket setting. There's a lot of time and research to where to add fuel, how to add fuel, when to add fuel, different scenarios. So that's covered in there. But you get one map, and then there's different settings to set the map to for each scenario. Like, if you just went with an air filter and a tuner, that's different settings than with the lid. Once you draw the lid in, especially on these new 19s, you know, the intake air pressure sensors on these are real sensitive. When you draw more in, you're creating less vacuum, which then changes the settings in this pressure sensor and the temp sensor. It draws a different amount of fuel. You know, I figured all that stuff out. You just go by the instructions. I have a lid, I have an exhaust,
Yeah.
set it here.
Yeah.
I have no exhaust and a stock lid and a tip, set it here.
Yep.
You know, it's all done.
And you've done that
I've
not
done
only
that.
for the Grizzly, but the Can-Am, you've done it for other models.
We've done them for everything, truthfully. You know, and then, you know, then there's the next level of the ECU flashes that we get into, and then you start to open Pandora's box a little bit, and there's a lot more you can do. This is simple. This is,
Yeah, you don't really need it. Yeah.
This is 95% of America that modifies their four-wheeler. They just need this. They just need it to run how it should with the parts. When you give people unlimited control, you get unlimited places to mess up. If you're looking at this tuner, you want to see a blinking light. Okay, if it's sitting there and it's blinking, it's waiting for signal to see to start to modify. Okay, this also has to do with D-cell popping. I get a lot of tech support calls, so people watch this. But if you want fuel to be added at idle, we would lower our green-blue mode. Okay, this is telling when the fuel to turn on. It doesn't care if it's adding 1% or 100%, it's telling it when to turn on. See how I just added fuel and it made that motor die down? Now it's like, ooh, I got some fuel. What do? I got solid green lights. Whether you got 1, 2, 3, or 7, it doesn't really matter at this stage. We're adding fuel. This is gonna make your bike run pretty rich. So we wanna go back up and get it to just its point, which should be a 5, 5.5, 4.5, right in there. It should go back to a blinking green light. If it's not, we gotta go up just a little higher. Once in a while, you gotta rev it up. Okay, so we wanna go just a little bit higher. Let's go 5.5. There, the motor just changed. I can hear it. Right. Blinking green. That's gonna be a happy idle. Anything else, like as soon as we touch this gas, it's adding fuel. It got solid green. That means it's in its zone where we're starting to add fuel. That's everything different. I can't tell you exactly if it's going to be a half point this way or that way. It's a, you know, if your TPS sensor is calibrated at 6-7 volts or 7-2 volts or intake air pressure, every sensor reads just a little different. So that's a fine tune you can do real simple.
Okay.
So we got 173 degrees, so we're back up in our operating state. We'll make some more passes and we'll see what these parts made for horsepower gains.
Okay. So we're intake.
Yeah,
we're
basically we got a
fuel
tuner
management,
and the air filter and the lid.
and a stock exhaust system.
Stock tip, stock exhaust, untouched. So our newest pass, we peaked out at 35. Right there, 35 versus 33, roughly a 2 horsepower gain. Right there, 2.5 horsepower gain.
And we haven't put an exhaust on yet.
When we do this testing, that's why we try to leave it strapped down the same way. We haven't undone any of the straps. We haven't changed the tire pressure. It's within an hour of the last pass. It's as legit as you can get with back-to-back testing. You'll see some real gains now. This is where the fun stuff is going to happen. Okay, so we went from stock exhaust with our lid. Now we're going to go to duals with our lid. So those are the settings of the changes we're going to make right there. Simple. I did some more playing with it to actually tune it in better there. Now that I had some readings to go by. Gold, stock, gold, horsepower, torque. Blue, airbox, first round, horsepower, torque. Red, where we're at now, added the exhaust. Okay, so
There's gains.
so we've picked up 5 horsepower right there. Right there, we picked up over 5. That's 5, 6 horsepower. And that one's 5 horsepower. You know, some of these I've actually seen hit 40. You know, we're at 38. 2 horsepower, you know, you get that bike to bike. Sometimes the belt's more worn, or you know, just how everything works. CVT's funny, you know. So it 38 to 40 is generally where we'll be at with these mods. Good thing about the duals on this, you put the quiet cores in there and bring the noise down. It doesn't hurt the horsepower at all.
Good.
You know, and it just runs quieter.
I love that. I don't want it so loud. A lot of people are with me. They don't want a real loud whirlwind.
Yeah, duals sound awesome when you're on the bike with a helmet and you're like, I am this. Like, I'm cool. And then you let your buddy rip it down the road and you're like, I am obnoxious.
Yeah.
You're like that.
Yeah.
But with the quiet cores in there, it's really pretty manageable. The duals benefits, you'll see you got twice the area to handle the temperature. Because I mean, the Grizzly still is a hot bike, even when it's tuned right. You got twice the area to handle the heat in the can. You got twice the area to silence it. Twice the area to make your packing last better. Everything is definitely significantly better with the duals, except they're expensive. You know, the slip-on makes really awesome horsepower on this model. I mean, for the price per dollar per horsepower gain, the slip-on, you can't really beat it. But you still make more with the duals.
Yeah.
But you get the benefit of, you know, a dual system with quiet cores is quieter than a slip-on with a quiet core. So, you know, you can be quiet. I don't want to say you're gonna blast into your hunting stand, you know, and not scare the deers away.
Right.
But if you just kind of put the quiet cores in and idle,
Yeah, you don't have to
it's
hammer
manageable.
it. Right.
You know, it doesn't really start blatting until you open it up. You know, it's been through about 7 different revisions to make it better. But it's about as good as we can get it, I think, you know, until something else comes out. But it does. They work extremely well.
Oh, there's your evidence. Look at it again. Sweet. Just gains the whole way through. Red is where I'm going to be. I'm done. I think we're good where we're at. We don't need to screw around with clutching, right?
I don't think so, personally. Clutching does not build any more horsepower. It may allow you to use the horsepower you have better,
Okay. Yeah.
but when you actually start building a real horsepower by performance mods, you know, port work, cam, piston, exhaust, it favors stop clutching much closer than it would. You know, even with a 27 or a 28 inch tire, I would still run something closer to a stop clutching. You might get a little bit better shift out with a different secondary spring, but I mean,
I'm happy with this. Thank you.
yeah,
Great.
you're welcome. Yeah.
How cool is this? All right, we'll button it up. We'll show where you're going to mount your tuner.
Just want to make sure the lid doesn't interfere with the wires.
Yeah.
I put it. I'm gonna end up probably putting a little drill bit right there and run one of the zip ties to hold it right in that little V notch that we cut.
Yep.
Yeah, and then it'll keep it all tight, secure, out of the way of the lid.
Pop your lid and be able to change tunes right here.
Yep, sorry.
It's great. Okay.
Works out slick.
I've got the performance part of the Ultimate 4x4 almost completely dialed in. Man, I've got this Barker's exhaust system. Look how nice this is. I think Eric said he's never seen one so nice. It's ceramic, dual core exhaust with a quiet core. So we got the right exhaust on it. Barker's just makes it run. And then we've got Eric's awesome intake system, an EHS fuel management system. So I'm set there with the way this thing's going to run. We're going to go next to all the suspension kind of stuff. So I'm confident we're going to get across the whole United States with no problems with this thing. It's going to be great. That's more like it when you say, you can't have an Ultimate 4x4 without waking it up, right? So I've got the performance angle done, thanks to my friend Eric and Drew and everyone at EHS. We've done it without spending a ton of money and time and effort getting into the engine. You can just see what's being done.
You can see it once you put your GoPro on there and your helmet, everything will come at you a whole lot quicker now.
Right. It's awesome. And it doesn't take all that kind of money that you think you got to
really, that's if you install it yourself, you're $1,200 for what we raised it.
That's awesome. For $1,200, that's money well spent. Yeah. Especially like we were saying in the beginning, getting it from running lean.
Oh yeah,
that's the key element.
You put one piston in a Yamaha shop, it's more than $1,200.
My point exactly. So we've done a good thing today. That'll sum up part 2 of my Ultimate 4x4 series. Got a new friend in Eric. I so appreciate what you did today. We're just mailed